Hey folks, and welcome back to another Points of Interest DroneCast. Got a great edition today, and Praks is back. Welcome back, Praks.
Thank you.
I love the way that sounds. We got a fun show today, interview with Charlie Wood, part one. We're going to do this interview is so good, we got to break it into two parts.
Oh, yes.
We've got our news stories, and of course, Praks tips. So folks, stick around for this episode. Let's take off. Exploring the people, places, and technology in the growing drone industry. This is the Points of Interest DroneCast. Hey, welcome back. Hey, we got a great show, as I said before. And before we get into our first interview today, we've got to talk about something we're going to do this Sunday. So hopefully this shows up and you get a chance to see it.
Oh, yes. The big scavenger hunt.
The scavenger hunt. We got that coming up.
I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you. I'm hoping it's going to be good. If you can be a part of it, please come join us at the Sloop John B, which is at Regency Square in Richmond, out in the West End. You know where it is?
Oh, yes.
And it's got a rooftop.
In my backyard.
It practically is our backyard. You're absolutely right. But we've got a fun event. We're going to do 35 targets. You've got 2 hours to get as many of them as you can. And I'm not going to give out the target list until right before we get started.
What's the grand prize?
Oh, I think it's going to be a gift certificate to the restaurant that we're starting at. Nice. Which is the Sloop John B.
Sloop John.
And I've got some hats to give away, stickers to give away, all kinds of fun stuff.
Are we doing it from the roof?
We are doing some of it from the roof.
Nice.
And we have the roof to ourselves.
Oh, man.
So there's nobody up there but us droners. So that's going to be this Sunday starting at noon. And we're going to take off and start the actual competition at 1
o'clock. We might even get Cars and Coffee people over, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Cars and Coffee, yeah.
Cars and Coffee.
I love that show.
Yeah. They have the car show every weekend.
Oh, yeah. In the JCPenney's.
The area. Yeah, so we might have some nice shot of these exotic cars.
That would be cool to have it. I don't know if it's warm enough yet for them to start that, but that would be awesome. Then we'll see what happens on Sunday. Anyway, we've got our news stories today to do. And before we get to the news stories, I want to start with the Charlie Wood interview. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about Charlie Wood. Charlie used to work for me, okay? And he mentions it, and he gives me some props that I really, really can tell you it made me almost cry. And he was an awesome guy working in the AV business, and it turns out as an engineer, he spun that around and is now working for Skydio as an engineer building those great drones.
Very good. Very good.
That's so cool. So let's take it away right now. Here's Charlie Wood. All right, folks, we are here with Charlie Wood. Charlie, how are you?
Hey, Gary, how are you? Good to see you again.
It is fantastic to see you again. Charlie and I have a long history. Charlie was actually talking to me before we started just a little bit about, gosh, how old were you when I was about 40 and you were
16 or 17.
Right. And Charlie was an amazing 16, 17-year-old filmmaker. And somehow one of our teachers from high school that we both had apparently introduced Charlie and said, "You've got to go talk to Gary." Is that right? What you said?
Oh, yeah. He was like, Gary's got all this equipment like steady cams and nonlinear editing, and I didn't have anything. I was just like a sophomore in high school, and I think I rode my bike over to your studio / house, and from there on, I spent several years just until I graduated learning everything I could from you and using all the equipment that you had.
That's awesome. Thank you for even saying that. But you've gone a long way, a lot further than I have in what you did and what you took from me. You went on to Virginia Tech. Is that right?
Yeah. So I went to Virginia Tech with the hopes of studying film. And when I got there, I realized they didn't have a film program. So I ended up getting into architecture and graphic design. And then towards my senior year there, started getting really interested in software design.
Very good. And that led you down some pretty cool paths. As I remember, I think you worked for the PGA. Is that right? Or one of the golf manufacturers?
Yeah. So I out of college, I worked at a digital ad agency called Modea, and one of our clients was Mizuno. So I got to go shoot down at Disney Worldwide of Sports for them. Got to shoot a lot of softball and golf stuff. Shot a lot of commercials, learned how to shoot commercials while working there, built a lot of Flash websites. If you all remember Flash, Adobe Flash.
Sure.
And just basically worked as an ad guy for 4 or 5 years After that, I went and worked for Twitter in Silicon Valley for several years, right up until their IPO. After that, I worked at Microsoft for a period of time, but right around 2015, 2016, I got really interested in drones through a friend from Twitter. And these were large industrial drones that I was interested in. Worked for a small company in Michigan building medical delivery drones. Worked for a small company in Utah building racing drones. And then in 2017, I met one of the founders or co-founders of Skydio through Twitter, and they were looking for a software designer to join them. I think the company was like 60 people at that point, and I've been working there for the last 7 years.
Wow. Well, what a lucky break, because I see them in this world right now really in the driver's seat, possibly the best position they could ever be, because if DJI has any problems continuing to sell in the U.S., I think Skydio is number one, in the position to take over. That would be awesome for all of you.
Yeah, we try not to think about DJI too much. We're trying to focus, on building the best drones that we can for the verticals that we're currently focused on. Those happen to be enterprise and utility inspections, so substations, bridges. There's 35, 40,000 bridges in the United States that forego inspection for long periods of time. We saw a major accident today in Baltimore with the entire collapse of a span of bridge. That's going to need to be rebuilt. There's going to need to be drones there helping with the reconstruction. They were using drones earlier today for search and rescue. So, we're focused on building the best thing that we know how to build. And if DJI gets himself into a weird situation, like, we will try to do what we can to accommodate their customers as well. But I also want to say that DJI makes incredible products, and they've been at the forefront of drone technology for at least a decade or two now, and we really respect what they've built. And I'm not going to say anything ill towards them, just because we're American and they happen to be across the pond there in China.
It is growing every day into one of the biggest new industries of tech in the world, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a great guy who ran 3DR, which was a drone company for a long time, Chris Anderson, and he talks a lot about this thing called the toy to tool pipeline. So drones really started as toys. They had no stabilized cameras. They had really poor battery life and radios. They were kind of an extension of an academic paper where somebody said, hey, 4 propellers on a self-stabilizing platform might be interesting. But, as we see now with the Ukraine and public safety and inspection using drones for really life or death situations, they're now just absolutely essential tools. You can't do a lot of things in the world without drones now.
And Skydio, as you were saying, is probably more focused on the industrial side than it is the consumer side. Is that true?
Yeah, so I think there's a few misconceptions about why we are not currently developing consumer drones. So we built 2 consumer-focused drones. We built the Skydio R1, which I have one of them sitting around here somewhere. We built the Skydio 2, the Skydio 2 Plus, so actually 3 consumer drones. We built software controllers, the beacon, and supported those from 2017 to about 6 months ago, or sold them till about 6 months ago. We still support them by selling propellers, other accessories, new batteries. So those products had quite a long lifespan. Like the Skydio R1 app was in the App Store until very recently, and Skydio 2 will continue to be supported as long as we can support it. But Skydio 2 is a 4.5-year-old product when we decided to stop selling it. Like, that is eons in terms of consumer drone technology. I think DJI comes out with a new iteration of Maverick every 18 or 24 months. Like 4.5 years is we kind of said what we wanted to say with those products, that we could build a highly autonomous, high quality drone with beautiful imagery that is really focused around consumer cinematography for under $1,000.
I remember looking at some of your stuff on Facebook that you were putting out probably 4 or 5 years ago, it seems like, and you were running some really long shots. Like you were, I don't know where you were, but you were tracing uh, um, a train across a desert space, and it looked like you had gone a mile and a half. So
Yeah,
these things were really doing longer distances than DJI was at that point, for sure.
yeah. I mean, DJI's radio technology is very very good. Skydio 2 started to catch up with it. We had we introduced a controller, we introduced a beacon as a range extender. Um, I think the real cool thing with Skydio 2 that I was most proud of was the software skills that we added to the application or to the app that allowed anybody to become like an expert cinematographer.
So tell me, since you've been with Skydio, tell me some of the highlights of what your career has given you.
Oh man, so I've worked at Skydio coming up on 7 years now. I have a few patents now with my name on them, which is especially cool. If you've used Skydio keyframe uh, as part of the Skydio 2 package, that's something I worked on. Skydio 3D scan, another interface that my team designed. So the work itself in designing like really novel software that can run on top of the drone's own autonomy system and produce like amazing 3D models or produce amazing, Hollywood level camera movement and camera shots without having to have a giant techno crane like that. That's kind of extremely rewarding. Um, there's also been on the commercial side, the non-consumer side, one thing that happened very recently, we donated several drones to the Ukraine General Prosecutor's Office, I think a year or two ago, right when the war started. And they had been using Skydio 3D Scan and the Skydio 2 to actually create 3D models of apartment blocks that had been destroyed, a very famous theater that had been destroyed, where tens of people had been killed, and using the evidence provided by Skydio, so that's 3D models, high resolution photography, high resolution video, they were able to secure the conviction of two Russian generals that were responsible for this, and international arrest warrants were issued for them. So I think, when I started at Skydio, I was like, we're going to make a really kind of cool follow me drone for mountain bikers and skiers. And then fast forward 7 years, like there's international warrants being issued for war criminals based on the software and hardware we've built. So that's extremely rewarding to try to help the people of the Ukraine that way. Another thing that I'm really proud of is we have a program called Skydio for All, where we donate drones and software to inner city schools and then underprivileged schools that maybe don't have the budget or resources to have technology like drones in their county or in their school districts. And it's so cool to meet with those kids and see the questions they have about drones, see how they use them. I like to think about that movie Step Brothers, and I think you and I would probably laugh at this, but there's a great line in that movie where they say, "Can you imagine, how cool this would have been if we had these when we were kids?"
Right,
And these
right.
kids get to grow up in a world with this stuff at their fingertips, where they can go
Sure.
to a Best Buy or online, or a uncle drops one off for Christmas, and they now have this amazing perspective that they can get of the world just from this little drone that they can get anywhere.
Sure, sure. I can remember us mounting GoPros and cameras, actually small cameras from who made the little GL1.
Oh yeah,
And we mounted those
the
onto
Canon.
your Canon, right?
Yeah,
And we mounted those onto your truck and stuff like that for these like moving shots. And we thought that was just an amazing thing we were doing.
yeah,
And
it was like
today with a
about this
drone,
big.
right, right. So obviously that has come so far, and you're right. The tools today, if you had them, you would be, the biggest man in Hollywood for sure. But we didn't have those kind of tools or the money to buy anything close to that. And you did an amazing job with what you had, which was what was really your specialty. and that's how you got to where you are. You think outside the box, and I think that's a great credit to you, and you continue to go great places, I'm sure.
Good interview. Can't wait to see the second half.
Oh, it's going to be great. I tell you what, he's such a neat guy. He was always brilliant as a kid, as you saw in the interview, that he used to be a filmmaker when he was a
pick
kid.
his brain. I always wanted.
Yeah.
I was into animation, and I lived close to Hollywood. My brother went to film school, and I completely can relate to his passion.
Oh yeah, he's amazing and all that. And he produced something he's going to talk about in part 2, I think it is, about how he uses the drone like a motion controlled camera. You can set the key points inside of Skydio.
That's how a lot of professional drone pilot, they said, don't treat it like a vehicle. Treat it like a camera rig.
Right, and he does. But it's a really neat stuff. He's got more to talk about. It was such an interesting interview. I had to break it into 2 pieces because we went for 35 minutes total talking.
We could probably go to like 4 hours.
Oh, I could have done 4 hours exactly because he's really about all the new stuff that Skydio is doing, and it's really really amazing. So, and of course with the DJI, that whole thing going on.
I think the two companies should merge.
So we got our news stories. So should I take my news story first?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
please do.
Well, I took a little road trip this past week. Went up to D.C., which is, if you don't know where we are, we're in Richmond, so we're about 100 miles north to D.C. And of course, we've all heard about the Smithsonian Institution or the Smithsonian Museums up there, and they have, of course, the Air and Space Museum up there.
I love that museum.
Yep. And they've been doing some upgrades. Matter of fact, we couldn't even get to all of the locations inside of the museum because they're still upgrading.
Yes.
But guess
I
what?
heard you have a museum piece.
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, they have a drone area now. It's not terribly large. I got some photos of it.
Wait, did you steal it from them?
This is exactly. I took this from the museum. No, this piece, which I happen to have in my museum, because I have a little museum of where I've been collecting old drones. This is the original Phantom.
Yes.
And in the museum at Smithsonian, there's only 4 drones. Okay, only 4. That are there, and this is one of them, which I think is really cool.
Let me say how significant this drone is. Prior to this drone, you're looking at $200,000 drone, Reaper drones, and all these military drones. When I first saw this, my jaw dropped. I did not know you can fly so high, so fast, and record HD video.
It was a game changer.
So it's a game changer, and that's just the right piece.
But we have more in our museum than the Smithsonian.
Probably do. Oh yeah, that's my original drone itself.
Remember this?
But this is more of a toy, but this is more of a serious filmmaker drone.
Right.
I saw this one and I'm like, this is an alien spaceship.
So some of the other drones that they've got there is the Flirte, I believe it was, a 3.0. And the reason that this was kind of an interesting or important drone in history, in 2015, it was the first drone delivery. First one.
Yes.
It went from a location to a fair.
Oh, yes.
And delivered what would have been some medical supplies, which was the first time. 2015. Think about that's not that long ago. So we're really still just babies in this whole thing.
Well, in World War I, they actually used the drone too.
Sure. And another company that had one of the 3 or 4 drones that they had was Dragonflyer.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
That drone was one of the first ones. 2013 was the first drone to save a life in Nova Scotia. They were used to find somebody that had wandered off of the snow.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of an important drone from that standpoint. Another drone, of course, besides this one here, is up at the top, and I'll show you a picture of it, is the first prototype for Prime Air, which is a delivery drone. And it's a big drone, but it's a 2-part thing. It takes off vertically and then flies horizontally.
Well, you're blending into my news story now.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of connected, and that's why we wanted to do that. But anyway, if you get a chance to go to the Smithsonian, that's their exhibit. It's not been there very long, and I'm sure they'll expand upon it. It's a really neat space with all the airplanes. Finally, drones are getting their place in the air and space. So we
keep it safe. It might be worth millions one day.
That's right. Probably I better put this away now. Yeah. So we're talking about delivery.
Speaking of delivery, 2024 is the year for drone delivery. Matter of fact, Google, Walmart, and Amazon are going full throttle. They're spending billions of dollars on drone development, delivery. And right now, if you go to the Prime Air website, the Texas Research Center are hiring drone developers and pilots for their drone delivery. Just recently, less than 2 weeks ago, DoorDash delivered in Christiansburg a sandwich from Wendy's using wings.
Right. So this was the first,
Yes.
like Grubhub
Yes.
delivery.
Yes, and that drone flew at 65 miles an hour. It could go up to 30 minutes, but this thing got there in like less than 5 minutes, and the food was still really hot and sizzling.
But what did it serve? Do you know?
What did they serve?
Yeah.
Wendy's. Yeah,
the Wendy's,
the
okay.
sandwich. Yeah, and so the
Okay.
family. Yeah, but anyways, it's amazing, and Amazon is like you said, they're doing their delivery,
Mm-hmm.
and right now they're just working on a way, because the biggest problem I can see is that these drones cannot land.
Sure.
There would be a lot of what do you call that? Collateral damage.
Sure.
If they land.
So I saw in
yeah.
your story,
Yes.
they've got a unique space or a way of
Yes,
dropping.
there's an app that they use. So when the drone comes over, they notify you, okay? And then you step out, and it asks if it's clear, because once it's over your house, you control the delivery. You control to lower it. So, and then you grab it, and then you can release. And you're only charged once the delivery is complete.
Oh, cool.
And
So
the drone never have to land.
the drone crashes, you're not paying for the Wendy's.
Exactly. So the drone is high enough away from the tree line
Sure.
that it won't be endangering you, your pets, or your
Gotcha.
trees.
So I imagine probably because this was in Christiansburg, which is right next door to Blacksburg.
Yes, Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. So-
Virginia, where we're at,
Sure.
is a hotbed for drones.
Sure. You know, something I did a couple years ago is I went, Virginia Tech has that netting
Oh, yes.
space.
Yeah.
And I took my drones in there and just flew them just for fun to say I did it.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a neat space.
Oh, yes.
And what I'm talking about, if you don't know, folks, they have this like football field size space that is netted all the way around. So
Oh,
if
yes.
you're playing with some experimental drones, it won't get away from you. It's going to fly into the net.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a free-to-fly area. You don't have to worry about violating FAA rules.
We have to go up there one time and fly in that just for fun.
Oh, yes.
I probably still have some photos.
And you know, the Avata 2, I want to give it a shot. You going to get yours?
Oh yeah, I already told you my
yeah.
Avata one is for sale, still for sale.
Yeah.
So that's some good news stories, and I tell you what, we got more coming up. There's always this stuff changing every week right now
Exciting.
in the world. It's exciting, and so we'll get to some more next week. And right now, it's time for
Praks
Praks
Tips. Hey, Gary, I brought back your drone.
Oh,
I
yeah.
conditioned it for you.
Thank you.
And
that's one of I think 5 things.
one of your many drones that you have, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, your drone is ready. However, my tip today is something that most drone pilot or drone user are not aware of, but however, drone engineers are completely aware of, but has not been addressed yet. What is the three most important thing in the drone? Number one,
Motors.
the motors,
Propellers?
yes, and the
Camera.
battery. The
Oh,
camera,
battery.
yes.
Yeah, no
but the
battery.
most important of all, just like a car has engine, so does a drone. And this is made out of, you have iron, you have rare earth magnets, brushless motor, and what people don't notice is that after you fly a drone, what do? You just turn it off and put it into your case, right?
Put it back in my box.
That's even in humid sky near the ocean. Mm-hmm. What you don't notice is what I'm going to show you next, okay? Mm-hmm. So now, this is how you notice whether you have issue with your prop. Slowly spin it, compare it to the other one, the motor. Okay, now spin it evenly, and you feel a slight tension. It means that one motor is actually sucking or having resistance that's using up more energy than the rest. That could lead to a bad ESC or a drone falling out from the sky. This one right here was sent to me because it fell out of the sky, and I did a forensic analysis on it. So basically, I took it apart and spin it. See, your drone spins freely compared to this one. This one has some resistance. So I opened up the core. I'm going to pull it out. You see the two separation side of the motor. You got the core side and the magnetic side. The core side already has some rust built up because it's made out of iron. Mm-hmm. And then look at the inside. You see the rust on there? Over time, rust will inhibit positive electric flow.
Sure.
And also, it can actually cease the motor from spinning. Okay, so that's the biggest problem. So I have been doing some research, and we have developed another person who does RC cars and RC boat. He talked to me. He said, "Hey, I have something that I use on my boats because I operate in ocean water, and this liquid right here is a rust inhibitor and also a waterproofing for electronic. So all you need is one teeny drop onto a brush. Okay, I'm gonna do it to your drone right now. Just a little brush right here, and then I'm gonna just drop it in, just enough to fill. Now I'm going into an area, the opening of your drone. I'm tapping it in 3 corners. I'm tapping. Here you go to the third corner, and then I'm gonna spin the motor. Spin it. I'm gonna do it again 3 times. Since this thing has never had this treatment, this is gonna waterproof the motor. Well, water resist. Nothing's ever waterproof.
Sure.
And I'll spin it again, and I'm doing it for spin until you feel some freeness. And then this is the 3rd time I'm using it all up. And now I'm gonna do this whole thing again for all 3 motors remaining. Spin, spin, spin. And now you should do this after you fly on a humid day, or even if you're once a month, just for maintenance. Just like a person who prep his race car, you also want to maintain your drone this way. And this is how you keep your drone up and running and flying. And you can have this, by the way.
Well, where did you get this again?
I am still working out a deal with him right now.
Okay. Okay, but soon enough you might be able to sell it.
Yes.
Fantastic.
It'll be labeled, but it'll be small quantity.
Right.
It's really
it's secret potion right
Secret
here.
potion. Secret
Fantastic.
potion.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's cool stuff. That's cool and great to know. And
Yes.
this is easy enough for anybody, novice, hobbyist, to get in there and make these just little maintenance things that keep.
Oh, this thing will probably keep your flight time high and your drone from crashing.
Right. Same reason we change our oil every 3,000 miles.
Exactly.
You got to put a little oil in these things to keep them.
Yes,
moving.
it's not lubricating the motor because it's not touching. However, it is preventing rust from building up.
Sure. Preventative
maintenance.
Thank you.
What is it? An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of pure.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. Hey, listen. Well, that's going to do it for our show today. I did want to kind of make sure that people know out there we're not truly trying to promote ourselves, although he has his own company.
Yes.
Which I Repair MD. I have my own drone company. I fly drones, and we love to talk about
Which
those
is drone
things,
advocates.
but our primary use for the show is trying to promote the community. Right.
Positive use.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So please, look at it as we're not talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
We hope we want to get you on here. Okay.
Yep.
So if
we
you'd
want
like
to promote responsible use of the technology, and also create a community where you can come in and share your success story and any issues that you might have, we can help solve.
Yeah.
So again, we're here for you and you're here for us. It's a good conversation.
That's our challenge.
Yep.
So again, thanks again for joining us. We hope to see you next time right here on the Points of Interest DroneCast.
Safe flying. No, it's a.
Why are you still watching?
See.
There you go. That's what we needed.